Good morning to the students of class 10 and welcome to the session where we're going to start the second topic of your grammar portion for your SSC board exam, which is pronouns. In French they are called les pronoms. So let's begin. This topic is going to be carried out across 3 sessions. So at the class 10 level you need to study 6 types of pronouns, which are respectively the personal subjects that we have already done in the 8th standard, the direct objects you've done in the 9th standard, indirect objects en, y, and the emphatic pronouns or les pronoms toniques. The last 4 are all new for you. So in this video I'll take up the first 2. In the next video, that is part 2, we'll be doing 3, 4 and 5. And in the third part we'll do the emphatic pronouns. So let's begin. This part is going to be basically like a revision for you, because you've already covered up these 2 types of pronouns in your earlier classes. Let's begin with the personal subject pronouns, which are, I think this type of pronoun would be the easiest for most of you. They are called les pronoms sujets, the personal subjects. They indicate who performs the action, the subject of the sentence. So the personal subjects are je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il and elle. You will recognize these from when you have been conjugating your verbs. They are exactly the same. Now for replacement purposes for the exam, you only have the third person, that is il and elle in the singular, and their plural equivalents, that is il and elle in the plural. So let's look at some examples. In your exam paper, you will get the word that has to replace will be underlined and given to you. Now, there is no placement rule for the personal subjects. The other types of pronouns have a particular rule of placement. But for these types of pronouns, there is no rule for placement. They will directly replace the subject. So, l'actrice habite en France. L'actrice has been underlined for you, which is the subject, because she is doing the action of living. So, l'actrice's feminine singular becomes elle. Please remember to rewrite the sentence for your exam. Le chien suit les enfants. Le chien is again the subject here because the dog is doing the action of following. So, le chien as masculine singular will get replaced by il. Mes parents visitent les magasins. Mes parents is the subject here because it's doing the action of visiting. So, mes parents here now is one man and one woman, one masculine and one feminine. Therefore, the masculine takes precedence and it becomes masculine plural il. And the last example here is les jeunes filles aiment le livre. Les jeunes filles now are the young girls. And why is it a personal subject here? Because they are doing the action of liking the book. So it will become feminine plural L, E-L-L-E-S. These are some examples which you can try by yourself. These are fairly simple types. So you can try these, pause the video, and then you will get the answers on the next slide. Okay, let's move on to the second type of pronoun, which is the direct object pronouns. In French, they are called les compléments d'objet tirés, COD. The direct object pronouns is a topic that we have already covered in the 9th standard, so let's revise. The function of the direct object is that they indicate the object upon which the action is performed. This is the opposite of the subject. The subject performs the action. The object receives the action, or the object is the thing on which the action gets performed. Now I'm giving you a clue here on how to decide when you have to use a direct object pronoun. You'll use a direct object pronoun when the underlined part immediately follows the verb. That is the indication that it is the object. And it should begin with le, la, L apostrophe or les. That means it should begin with any of the definite article or a demonstrative adjective or a possessive adjective or for that matter, it can be any name of a person as well. As long as it is the object, it follows the verb. And these starting parts of the underlined part will give you a better idea that you have to use the direct object pronouns. Now, which are the direct object pronouns? When you're replacing something masculine singular, the direct object is le. When you're replacing something feminine singular, the direct object becomes la. When you're replacing something plural, no matter what the gender is, it is le, les. Now you need to be careful that when the word following the pronoun begins with a vowel, then le and la will change into l apostrophe, but le will not. Le will remain le even in front of a vowel, but le and la have to change into l apostrophe before a vowel. So let's look at some examples so that you understand how they are placed. So you have three scenarios here. The first one is when there's just a single verb. For example, the present tense or the simple future or the imparfait. These kinds of tenses have just a single word as the verb. So look at the first example. Je ferai mon devoir. Mon devoir here is the object, my homework. So it's masculine singular. Therefore, it has to be replaced by le. And where do you place the le? Immediately before the verb. This is what happens when it is just one verb. The verb is a single word. And you can see how it's been done for the other three sentences of that type. In the third sentence, you can see mon ami is masculine singular. So it has to be replaced by le. However, the verb is starting with a vowel. Therefore, you cannot put le, you have to put l apostrophe. Now, consider the second scenario where you have one verb that is conjugated and one verb that is full. This will happen in the case of tenses like passé récent and futur proche, and also when you use verbs like aimer, vouloir, pouvoir, and so on. So let's look at the first example there. J'aime faire mon devoir. Now, aimer has been conjugated there, but faire is full. Now, mon devoir is masculine singular and it is the object, so it has to be replaced by le. Now, where will you place the le when there is one conjugated and one full? You need to place it before the full verb. So you can see the same thing has been applied in the second, third, and fourth sentence. Let's look at the fourth one. Je vais casser ces vases. I'm going to break these vases. Now, if you look at ces vases, it is the object because the action of breaking is going to be performed on the vases. So, you have to replace it with les because in plural. Now, where will you place the les? Since there is one conjugated aller and one casser which is full, you have to place it before casser. And that's how it becomes je vais les casser. Now what happens when you have both conjugated? This happens only in the case of passé composé. When you have one auxiliary and one participle, what do? So look at the first example there. J'ai fait mon devoir. Mon devoir is the object which has to be replaced by le, because it is masculine singular. Now in case of the passé composé, when both the verbs are conjugated, you have to put the direct object pronoun before the auxiliary. So when it's one conjugate, one full, it goes before the full verb. When it is passé composé, it goes before the auxiliary. Therefore, le has to become l apostrophe because it clashes with the a. Now, look at the second example. J'ai chanté la chanson. Chanson is the object here because the action of singing is being performed on the song. So, it is feminine singular, therefore it has to be replaced by la. It's a passé composé sentence, so it has to go before the auxiliary, and it clashes with the la will clash with ai, so it has to become l apostrophe. Now, can you see that extra e that has been added after chanter? Now, this is a special rule which is only for the direct object pronouns. The participle has to agree with the noun that you have replaced. I'm repeating, this is only for passé composé only for direct objects. So you have replaced something feminine singular, you have to add an extra E. If you are replacing something masculine plural, you have to add an extra S to the participle. If you are replacing something feminine plural, you have to add an extra ES to the part. Look at the third sentence. J'ai aidé mon ami. Now mon ami here is the direct object because the action of helping is being performed on the friend. So now mon ami is masculine singular, it has to be replaced by LE. This is a per se composite sentence, so it goes before the auxiliary, it becomes L apostrophe to avoid the clash. Now, the thing that you have replaced, the noun that you have replaced is masculine singular, so there is no agreement that has to happen with the participle. So this is a quick review of the placement rule for pronouns. Now this placement rule will apply for this kind of pronoun, that is direct object se or they. It will apply for the next three types, indirect object en and y. However, it does not apply to the first type that we've just done. It does not apply to the last type, which we will do. So if you have a single verb, the pronoun is placed before it. If you have one conjugate, one full, the pronoun is placed before the full verb. And when both the verbs are conjugated, that is when the sentence is a per se composite sentence, the pronoun is placed before the first verb. Now, only for direct object pronouns, the special rule is that in per se composite, you have to agree the participle with the number and gender of the noun that you are replacing. So I've given you the steps there below, if that helps you to decide how and when to use the direct object pronoun. Let's solve a few examples. Je n'aime pas regarder la télévision. Now la télévision here is the object because it's coming immediately after the verb and it starts with a definite article. So it's feminine singular, it will have to be replaced by la. And where do you place the la? Correct, you will have to place it before regarder because there is one conjugated and one full. So the pronoun goes before the full verb. Next example, Léo mange le banane pour son petit déjeuner. Now le banane here is obviously the object because the action of eating is happening on the banana. So le banane is masculine singular. Now this sentence is simple because it's just a single verb. Le will have to be placed before the single verb. It will become Léo le mange pour son petit déjeuner. If there is any part of the sentence that comes after the underlined part, please write it as it is in your exam. The next one, tu dois respecter tes parents. Now, tes parents here is again the object because the action of respecting is happening on the parents. So, tes parents is masculine plural, so you will have to replace it with les, les. And where is the place? Where is the pronoun going to be placed? Before respecter, because it is one conjugated devoir and one full respecter. In such a situation, you have to place it before the full verb. So it becomes tu dois les respecter. Now the last example, nous avons vu les films d'horreur. Les films d'horreur is a object here because the action of watching is happening on the films. Now this is a per se composite sentence, so be a little careful. The pronoun that you're going to use is obviously going to be les because the underlined part is plural. So now this is a per se composite sentence. Where will you place the pronoun? Yes, you'll have to place it before the auxiliary. So it'll be nous les avons vus. And please remember, this is per se composite direct object. So the participle has to agree with what you have replaced as masculine singular. So you have to add an extra S to the participle. Don't forget about this extra rule, it's important. So now if you have understood how to go about the steps that you need to follow while selecting the direct object pronoun, please go ahead, pause the video and solve this exercise. You'll get the answers on the next slide. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you very soon with the second part of the pronouns lesson where we'll discuss the next three types of pronouns. Thank you.